Okay, my wife just brought it to my attention today, a letter that had been sent out to bomb school parents. And that letter, if I could pull it up here, she sent to my email address. It was dated April 22nd, 2016. It says, "Dear Bomb family, you are receiving this letter to ask for your support as we work through a sensitive student situation. Starting Monday, we will be welcoming a transgender student to our building. The student has been enrolled at Baum all year, and your child may be familiar with him as a boy, but will now be recognized as a girl. She will be able to function in the school setting as all of our other female students, but guidelines have been put in place in order for all students to feel comfortable. Bond families have worked together for the good of our students in the past, and we know this will be no different. Should you have any questions, please do not hesitate to contact Ms. Young, building principal, and they provide the number, or Dr. Clark, which is over the Director of Student Services, at the number that was given." Now, my wife, today, let me check the date here. Today is the 26th of April, and my wife has brought this to my attention when I woke up this morning. And I've seen some of the comments that were a lot of people saying, "I'm pulling my kids out of school, they will not go to school there," and this and that. And my take on that is that we have to be careful. Let me wave that white flag of common sense real quick. We have to be careful, because as how the school has it in our reactions to it, and when I say we as a people, the parents of the students that go to bomb school. Even though my child doesn't go to the bomb school, I just want to let you guys know when I say we, I'm just pretty much riding with you guys. But we got to be careful, because we've seen this before in the education system before. This was back when we were desegregating the schools. And, there was parents was like, "I'm not sending my kids to school there. How could you let this happen?" Now, don't get me wrong. This is not on the same level. But we have to be careful not to become the oppressors in this situation. Now, I think that we have many things that we could stand for, but to actually stand up against one child who has this thought process that he is not a boy, I don't think that's the way to go. Now, our schools have done in the past where issues have come up and they have addressed it, and then other people come up with other issues because they felt like, "Hey, you did this to us, so let's just make you do this to them." It's been a thing that's been going on in the past, but I do still want to address this. Now, there was this letter sent out. It was very craftily worded. I mean, let me first off, I don't want to make this a rant video, so I'm not, but let me first say this, that in this letter, and I'm not going to, get this wrong. I'm going to read from this letter because it kind of threw me when I was reading it. It had us believing that this student was just now getting into the school. And then it later on comes and says this student has always been there. And for those who think I'm making a big deal of it, I want to read it to you because I don't want to confuse anyone. It says, "You are receiving this letter to ask for your support as we work through a sensitive student situation. Starting Monday, we will be welcoming, starting Monday." That means that was the Monday that just passed. "We will be welcoming a transgender student to our building." Now, that will make me as a parent be like, okay, oh well, everyone's different. We all have our problem. We all have different things that go on with us. But still, welcoming a student is not a big thing at all. But they later, it's like it's crafted to make it look like, okay, let's welcome in someone. You'd be like, okay, I'll welcome them in. No problem, And then you got them coming right behind that. The student has been enrolled at BOM all year. You're not welcoming the child being here. We're near the end of the school year. We barely have any weeks left, and the child has always been there. Okay, you're causing confusion here. It's like you're telling the parents, "Hey, here's a new chapter in our lives." And then they're like, "Okay, well, we could think about this. Then you tell them, oh, but this person's been there all year round. You're not playing people. You shouldn't play people like they're dumb. And that letter is crafted as if you want to play people like they're dumb, but they're not. You told them that you're welcoming in someone. That means you're bringing in. You say, hey, you're welcome to come into the building. Not that we are now welcoming the fact that a child is wanting to be considered as a girl that has been here all year. You didn't tell us that. You came along later after saying that we're welcoming them in the building. Go ahead. Awesome. Welcome everyone. Jesus Christ didn't turn no one away. Then you came and then you said, well, this child has always been there. Okay, and then you say that our children have recognized this child as a boy and that we want to make the transition and that you have put guidelines in place. It makes it seem like you're trying to pull a fast one. And I don't think that if you're going to make such a huge change that you should try to pull a fast one on the parents. Because now, this is where the renting starts. Don't get me wrong, because this is really informational. I'm going to try to keep it informational and not personal. This was pretty much a notice. I will explain what I viewed the letter as a little bit later, but this is what I consider to be a notice. I noticed that there's going to be a transgender and that guidelines has been put in place. Guidelines mean there has been rules. There has been regulations already put in. Now that there's regulations, I fear, this is what I fear. I do not ask this to be your fear. This is just what I ask you to take to mind so you can be prepared to help your student better deal with the situation. Guidelines for the transition, for the transgender to be in the school, means someone sat down and thought of things that could happen, things that would be, and said, hey, okay, now let's try to smooth this out to make it better. What I'm afraid of is that our students at Bomb School, when I say our, that means because I roll with you guys on this. Our students, which are now considering this boy as a boy, can be penalized if they continue to say him, he, his, boy. If they are to accept him as a girl, the guidelines is that there must not be anyone that continues to say him, he, him, boy. Because how can there be an easy transition if a boy now believes himself to be a girl, is continued to be called a him, he, him, boy? And furthermore, will our students be penalized if they continue to still call this child, and I just pick a name, this is not the child's name at all, John, and John wants to be called Joyce? They say that our children have always been around this child and that they have always recognized him as a boy. So I'm sure if they've been around him, they know his name. So if they call him John, will they be penalized? Will someone come up to him with a ruler? Hey, 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 we call him Joyce now, or call her Joyce now, but his name is John. You did not say that. Are we going to have the teachers and the principals and the faculty and those that sit in position of authority to tell our kids that they're not allowed to think the truth? That's a concern I have of mine. As back in the days when it was segregated, school segregated with black and white, you know, they had to establish some type of rule, so they can't just walk in and just like, hey, they're going to end. You're black, you can't sit next to us. They had to establish something. They had to get to the point where they was telling students, it's not right, we will not tolerate that. We got to get rid of the racism, the racial comments. Someone had to come along and do that. This is not the same. This is where a person was born with the DNA of a boy. And they want our students to recognize this person that was born with the DNA as a boy, as a girl. So are they going to tell our students, you can't say that? I understand when you tell someone you can't call someone a derogatory term. You can't call them an N. You can't call them a spick. You can't call them wetback. You can't call them none of these things. It's not right just because of a race. That person was born with that DNA, that racial section. That's where they was born. They didn't come up and it's like, oh, well, I made a mistake, or I don't believe that I'm black. You have to call me Caucasian. All you Caucasian brothers and sisters out here now have to call me Caucasian because I don't believe this. This is not how I was born. Do not call me this. And next thing you know, there's a notification sent out to school that, you know, you can no longer call this kid black. He considered himself white, so we're going to make it an easy transition for him. So you can no longer refer to him as bro. What up, man? You must always address him with a tip of the hat, or maybe even a salute, or howdy, how are you doing today? No, see, this is where I get at with this. Our students must be able to keep free mind. Their mind must not be tainted, twisted, and penalized for the truth, for seeing the truth and knowing the truth and speaking the truth. So if I see John in the hallway, hi John, I shouldn't be penalized. He got my pencil. That's a she. No, he got my pencil. I shouldn't be corrected, or should I be incorrected, should I say. No one sent out a notice for the racism that goes in school. Oh yeah, you got that held over hidden noose there, and you expect that hidden or that unseen noose to do your job for you. No one's sending out letters. No one's monitoring it. I'm sure they're going to monitor the situation with the transgender, especially when it comes down to the restrooms. I'm not even going to touch on that. I'm sure some of you parents are already freaked out about it, and this is not what I'm here to do, is to make you any freaked out. So we got children out there that's in school that has different body type and facial features. No one's sending out notice that we're going to make an easy transition for them. They're still pointing, laughing, and, oh, what? Oh. There's still all this is going on. No one sent out a notice to the parents saying, hey, there's a child with Down syndrome in our school building. You know, we're going to make an easy transition. We'll welcome them in, but they've always been here. I didn't get a notification, you know, but hey, I guess we pick and choose what we're going to actually, I guess it's more of a sensitive topic when it comes down to transgender than it is for a child that can't help how they was born, but people are always laughing and pointing in their faces their whole life. No one sent me a notification. My child is in school now, and my children knows that people are different and that you do not point in no one's face because of a disability. You do not go talking to no one who may have their own version of what their truths are with themselves. So I wanted to point that out, and no one's made it easily a transition for religion either. There's different religions walking throughout this whole world. There's different religions walking throughout a whole school. No one made it easy transition. They just shut it out. They shut it out. My children are Christians. They go to a school where they're not allowed to practice that. It's shut out. There's people who go to school right now that are Muslims. They're not allowed to practice. It's shut out. Now, I'm not saying go and shut this child out. What I'm saying is this child has been at this school operating in the fashion that they have been operating in, and things have been fine. No need to shut the child out. No need to actually come and turn the school upside down either. Let's get it right. This notification that I've read, my wife sent me a screenshot of the letter. It's so nicely worded. It's hard not to see the thread in there that there will be disciplinary actions for the children. You know, it's like bullying. You know, would you I feel like I'd be bullied if I walked into a school and you're black, you're skillet, you're bald head, you're four eyes. I feel like I'm bullied, and I want that to stop. Well, the student that might now consider themselves not a boy can feel it's bullying for someone to say he, him, his, boy, John. Are we going to write up policies against that? Are we going to now get a student rule book for, you know, DPS61 with that included line in there now that we have transgenders in the school, those who think that they're opposite sex from where they were born, that it falls under the title of bullying, harassment, if you do not refer to them as him, he, him, boy, or in a girl's case, well, she believes she's a boy, we can't call her she, her. You know, Janice, we must call her Rupert. It doesn't, seriously, let's do the right thing in the school. Let our children not be penalized for it. Parents, be careful. Do not rant and rage about taking your kids out of the school. What you do rant and rage about, and yes, if anybody want to quote me on this, they can. What you do rant and rage about is when they try to discipline your child for speaking the truth. When your child says, there's the boy that goes to my school, you're not going to smack him in the mouth and say, you don't say that. So the school shouldn't have the right to be able to say it either. If your child sees a boy and say that's a boy, we taught our children our whole life. Remember when your child was young and they didn't know the difference between boy and girl? You'd be like, that's a boy, that's a girl. And then when they first got it right, you were just like, yes. Now we're going to take that away from them. We gave them the truth. Now we're going to let someone penalize them. They can't be penalized for considering this boy as a boy to the day they die. They can call this boy by his name, John, until the day he dies. He can change his name to whatever he wants it to be. When people recognize that and they accept that name, they will call him that name because that will be their truth. But the truth that they have given us in this letter is that guidelines, penalties, regulations have been put in place against anyone who will be making it uneasy for the transition of the transgender to be accepted within the school, not welcomed into the school, accepted. He's always been there. So start thinking before we start ranting and saying, look here, my child is never, and that's demonized, that's Satan. Really, is it Satan? Because if that's Satan, what are we doing? What are we doing? As soon as we be like, hey, I'm yanking my kid, who are we making happy? Are we pleasing God? Are we? Or are we putting self in the way? Let's think before we react to this letter. But what I do ask you to do is stand. Stand when they try to penalize your child for the truth. You stand. You don't come and make your issue about transgender. You don't come and make your whole argument based on your religious beliefs. Make your answer count in the ears of those that are laying down these guidelines and regulations by hitting them with a truth they can't dodge. Never penalize my child for knowing 1 + 1 is 2 when you decide later on that it's 3. They've been taught their whole life and that's their truth. That's what's real to them. Don't penalize them for saying now 1 + 1 is 2. I was born dad. My children will never call me mom. Even if I believe I'm mom tomorrow, don't want to dress and change my name. I'll never be Kate. I'm still dad. That's the truth. That's my children's truth. That's the world's truth. How dare me get mad and try to regulate and throw guidelines and to force this world out of what is true. So think about that before y'all start ranting and raging about yanking your kids out and taking out a full school board based on a transgender. Leave that out. Leave that. This is me waving my white flags. Hey, I know white flag is surrender. Surrender. Surrender to common thinking that can overcome what the enemy has put in play. Know your enemy so that you can defeat your enemy. Decatur's public school is not the enemy. Bomb school is not the enemy. Your enemy is that which comes to kill, steal, and destroy. So in this situation, don't let them kill, don't let them steal, don't let them destroy your joy, don't let them kill, steal, and destroy your understanding. You stand firm on the truth. And you teach your children to stand firm on the truth. And that transition will be smoother. Don't leave the transition up to the school. You leave the transition over to your children, their heart, their beliefs, their home, and the way you bring them up. Now, I'm going to end it there, though I have a lot more to say, but I think I have to get this out. This has been long enough, and I know you guys are going to be just like, oh my gosh, preacher, bro. I'm not a preacher. I just put on the tie so I look good. What I woke up in was horrible. So I thank you guys for listening. I hope I shed some light on the situation. I really do. And Decatur Public School, if you see this video, please, please work with the parents. Don't write out letters like the one you sent. I know it was worded, crafted. It was so nice. It was so sweet. But we knew what was behind that letter. So let the truth be the truth. Let us as parents decide what that truth is for our children. And let us send them to school to learn, not to erase what they've known as the truth forever. Thank you. God bless you. Church folks, let's open our eyes.